everybody, this is Scott Sharp with Fretboard Toolbox, and today we're going to look at what was and still kind of is a holy grail for me, which is being able to improvise with random chord progressions. So today we're going to look at improvising in the key of C major, and we'll use the C major scale and C major pentatonic scales, and we'll play along with some free jam tracks and hopefully give you some good ideas to get started. Let's get started and I'll show you how it works. Today we're going to be using Fretboard Toolbox Complete Ukulele C tuning book and the free jam tracks from the Fretboard Toolbox website. So I have jam tracks for all these different keys, and we're going to use the key of C major tracks today, and all these progressions are the same progressions in my book, and it's just me playing guitar with those progressions. So the first thing we'll do is mess around with the C major chord, and with the toolbox we're going to use the key of C major page. Fretboard Toolbox Complete Editions have all the major keys, all the relative minor keys, and all the blues keys, and it shows you the chords that sound good, and it shows you the notes that make up the chords and common chord progressions. So today we're going to focus on the major scale and the major pentatonic scale. And in my books, the major scale are all the white boxes. So C major scale is C, D, E, F, G, A, B. And then the major pentatonics are the underline notes. So it's just the same as the major scale, except you skip the 4 and you skip the 7. So C major pentatonic is C, D, E, G, A. And we'll also start with just the first 3 notes of the scale, C, D, and E. And that you can do that in any key. And playing just those 3 notes gives you a really safe space, and it's part of the major scale and it's part of the major pentatonic. And so the chord progressions we'll be using today, we'll be using these chords with these Roman numerals. So here's those chord progressions that we'll be playing through, like a 1-5-1, a 1-4-5, etc. And then down here on the fretboard layout, you can see all the notes in white boxes are the major scale notes, and all the underlined notes are the major pentatonic notes. So let's start with just the C major chord. So these jam tracks are me playing guitar. And we'll play just the first 3 notes. We'll play C, D, E or C, D, E. Then we'll play the major pentatonic, which is C, D, E, G, A. And we can go back to C, or we could play C, D, E, G, A and go up to C. And then we'll play the major scale, which is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And all those notes are laid out all over the fretboard, so you can pause anytime and put on the jam tracks on your phone or some other device and start messing around with this fretboard layout and playing those tracks. So let's play this C major chord and start with just C, D, E. And it'll sound like this. And if you can learn to slide, you can slide down. We may hammer on. And now we'll play the major pentatonic. That's C, D, E, G, A, C. And if you have a low G, playing G, A, C always sounds good. And here's the whole major scale. And then you mess around with the order. And so the idea is the notes that sound the best when you're improvising are the notes that are part of the chord being played. So C, E, and G all sounded really good there, and then I used the other non-C, E, and G notes to mess around and move around between those notes. So hopefully that'll make more sense as we play along with some more complicated tracks. So this is a 1-5-1 progression, or C, G, C. So we'll start out with just that C, D, E note, and then we'll play major pentatonic, and then we'll play the whole major scale. But when it gets to the G chord, like the notes I really want to focus on are G's, B's, or D's, and those will sound really good, and hopefully that'll make some sense here in a sec. So let's start with just C, D, E. Now it's on a G chord. So that's just C, D, and E notes. Now we'll play the major pentatonic. Now the whole C major scale. So coming back to that C note when the chord progression goes back to the C is money. That sounds good all the time. So focus on that. And when I was going to the G chord, G major chord, I was focusing on G or B or D. So let's try another one. Let's play a 1, 4, 5. So a C, F, G. So we've already seen the 1 and 5. When I get to the 4 chord, I want to try to focus on F, A, or C notes. So we'll start out with just the first 3 notes, that's C, D, and E, and then we'll move major pentatonic and then major scale. Now it's on the F chord. C major. F, G major, now major pentatonic, and this is a slide I love. Now the whole major scale. So that's the idea there, is just being able to see those notes that are in the key. And I don't expect you to be able to play what I'm playing today, and you may be able to play something way cooler, but I'm just wanting you to see that even if you just play 3 notes from the key, those first 3 notes, you can solo with, you can begin some solos. And if you try the major pentatonic, you can get even cooler solos. And if you can mess around with the whole major scale, you get even cooler solos. And then when you really focus on the notes that are part of the chord, that's when stuff gets really fun. So now let's look at the same progression, except we're going to go 1, 5, 4. So when I get to the G, I'm going to look at those G and B or D notes, and then the F, I'm going to look at F, A, and C. So let's start out with just the C, D, E. Now the whole major scale, C major pentatonic, I mean. Now the whole major scale. So, like, I really think pausing and looking at this fretboard and then opening up the jam tracks on some other device works really well. Like, you can try it on your own and see if you can start making some of these sounds and maybe make even cooler sounds. Let's try a 1-5-4. I'm sorry, a 1-6-4-5. 1-6-4-5 goes like this, starting with C, D, E. Now major pentatonic. Now major scale. Now I'm messing with the order. All right, that's a 1-6-4-5, and let's do one more here. What I'm wanting you to see is just all these different progressions that are in the key of C major. You can use these same notes and move around, and then you start building these patterns in your head and like, oh, this sounds good when that happens, and this sounds good when that happens, and I don't like the sound when this happens, and all those steps are critical to being able to improvise. So here's a 1-6-2-5. So now we've got a D minor in there, so that's D, F, and A. And when we go to the A minor, it's A, C, and E are the notes to focus on. So let's try this one out, starting with just C, D, E again. Now major pentatonic. Now my favorite little lick. Now major scale. Now I'm messing with the order more. So I hope you're getting the idea that you can try all these different progressions and get really cool sounds. And on the website here, you can go to all the tracks on shuffle, and you can just click through several times, and I won't look at whatever it is, and then I'm just going to try to mess around with whatever this progression is. False alarm, I accidentally saw. Let me try to not look again. It's hard to hit the play button without it. Okay, so that was a 1, 2, 4, 5 there, and just messing with those guys on shuffle is really really beneficial too, and just training your ear to be able to move, and you're always close to a note that's in the key, so, or a note that's part of the chord, so you just keep moving around, and then cool things start to happen. So that's why I built this whole free jam track section, so I could just put on tracks on shuffle, and I could try all these different chord progressions and just try different notes from the scale and different notes that make up the chords, and over time really cool stuff starts to happen. So if you want to learn more about Fretboard Toolboxes, if you go to the Fretboard Toolbox website and you go to pick your instrument, I have books set up exactly alike for all these different instruments, and I've got 2 different editions, an essential edition and a complete edition. And the essential, or the complete, is all black and white and it has all the keys, and the essential is in color and just has the most common keys. So if you want to know more about those, click essential versus complete books. That's the most common question I get asked. You can check out my print versus ebook options, and then if you click look inside on any of my books, you can download all the instructions plus the key of G major pages for free. Also, I've got tons of free tools to mess around with, and I've got tracks and tab and all sorts of things that you can poke around and see if you can find something useful. And I appreciate you taking a look, and I'll be back on more Fretboard Fridays with more videos on more of my favorite instruments.